Zoom lenses are the highest evolution in photography. They offer dozens of focal lengths and thousands of composition possibilities. But do you know what these masterpieces of photography from photographers like Alex Webb, Vivian Meyer or Bruce Gilden all have in common? None of these was made with a telephoto or zoom lens. Zoom lenses were invented to make a photographer's life easier. But is this really the case? In this video I want to talk to you about the cases where it's a good idea to use a zoom lens, which is about 10% of the possible photos in street photography, and 90% of the motifs or photo possibilities where you should better avoid a zoom lens. Let's dive straight into it. So, do you remember this famous photo from Alex Webb made on 9/11 in New York? You have this mother in the foreground with her baby in Brooklyn, and in the background you see the burning World Trade Center. Just imagine Alex Webb would have used a telephoto lens or a zoom lens on this certain day. This photo would have never become the icon of a photo it is today. So this is one of the thousands of photo possibilities you could totally destroy with a telephoto lens. I want to show you some photos which I took in the last few months, which weren't that good if I took them with a telephoto lens. They would have appeared more flat and more uninteresting. When you're using a wide lens, it feels like you're part of the image itself, while when you're using a zoom lens or a telephoto lens, it feels more like you're just a watcher or viewer or visitor of the scene. Just look at the situation in the background. So many people walking around. If I would just focus on one single person to make a candid street portrait, without any context, without even seeing if a crazy lady begins to dance, if a dog is defecating on a shoe of a man standing there, I don't see anything because I'm looking through my viewfinder. I don't see anything. So that's a big problem when using a zoom lens or a telephoto lens. You simply lose the context. And that's a very important thing when it comes to great street photography. Yes, you're right. A famous photographer like Saul Leiter mostly used a telephoto lens. I guess he shot with a 150mm lens many of his great street photos. But I am not Saul Leiter. You are not Saul Leiter. I don't have the compositional skills of Saul Leiter. I hope you have. But as long as you don't have the compositional skills, especially as a beginner, please begin with a prime lens of 28 or 35 or 50mm, so that you don't have to make so many decisions when you're on the streets. The less decisions you have to make on the streets, the faster you are, and most probably the better photos you will get. So use a prime lens, and if you already bought a zoom lens, use it as a prime lens. Just like this, zoom with your feet. This very advanced technique only means don't be shy, get closer. So I have this wonderful old street here, and I bet this works also better with a wider lens. I'm waiting for the tram now. I want the tram in the foreground and these impressive buildings in the background. And I guess this works way better with a wider lens. Let's see. And yeah, what's really important in my opinion is that using a wide angle lens evokes some emotion and sometimes also reaction, because people see you shooting a photo of them. When you're just zooming in, they don't notice you. That's kind of convenient for you, but makes the boring photo in most of the time. So yeah, wide angle lens, especially a prime lens, if you can't zoom in, evokes emotions. So, do you remember my last video about reflections? With a telephoto lens, you would never imagine that here there is a beautiful reflection to be found. You need to get close to the window until you see this wonderful reflection, and you can only see it with a wider lens. So just like this, or like this. So you wouldn't see a lot of these beautiful reflections on reflecting surfaces with just using a zoom lens or a telephoto lens. You really need to get close to the reflecting surface. So when you're having an amazing architecture like here, you could use your zoom lens and have something like, one moment, something very flat, and you don't really see this gorgeous architecture here. Or you can change to a wider lens, to your prime lens. I'm using this zoom lens now as a prime, and here you can see this amazing architecture with all the context. Okay, I have to admit, maybe there are 80% of the cases you don't need a zoom lens, and 20% where there are great in street photography. Just look at this photo I made here of a dog sitting on the knees of a man in the car. If I would have used a wider lens and gotten closer, the dog maybe would have moved his position. The photo wouldn't be that good like it is. So yes, there are some good photo chances also with a zoom lens. But you know, using a zoom lens is easy, but making the best out of a zoom lens is really, really difficult. So just look at them sitting there. I could make a photo with a zoom, but then everything is pretty cluttered. Or I could get closer to the scene with a wider lens, just like this, and then it's much better. Change the position, and then it's pretty interesting. I think this photo, if I get closer, it's definitely nicer. There are some cases where it's good to use a telephoto lens or a zoom lens. For example, you see this tree here with a Mole Antoniella in the background. If I want to shoot this and integrate the Mole Antoniella and the tree in the foreground, I would have to use a telephoto lens. Because, I'll show you this. Yeah, just like this. Just like this. And now I change the focal width to 18mm, which is on APS-C a 28mm equivalent. And then I come closer. And while I'm getting closer to the tree, you see the building in the background is disappearing. It's completely disappearing. The Mole Antoniella, it's gone. And I only have the tree. So in cases like this, it's good to use a telephoto lens. But, well, that's not really street photography, but this is some of the cases. I would prefer a telephoto lens if I would shoot trees. So zoom lenses are also great if you want to make street portraits of people who are taller than you. So I'm 2 meters tall and this lady is much bigger than me. And with a zoom lens, yes, I can make a beautiful portrait of her. I have now 80mm on APS-C and it works pretty fine. So zoom lenses are a great thing when you're shooting up or down a building, when you change the perspective by using a wider lens, when you're shooting events like sport events, soccer games and so on, or when you're shooting in a war zone. But we street photographers normally don't shoot in a war zone, so the best way to achieve really great street photos with context and with great storytelling is using a prime lens around 28, 35 or 50mm. Or if you already bought a zoom lens, use it as a prime lens. I hope you liked this video. If yes, please leave me a like and a subscribe. See you in the next video. As always, happy shooting. Yours, Oliver.